With 8 narratively complex seasons under its belt, American Horror Story has left us with a number of doozies to puzzle over. With that in mind, here's a look at this long-running hit anthology's biggest unanswered questions. And there's more than a few, spoilers ahead. Murder House, American Horror Story's first season, set the foundation for the series by introducing us to the Montgomery House, an infamous mansion in Los Angeles with a disturbingly high death count and a history of violence that goes all the way back to its first owners in 1922. Dr. Charles Montgomery, played by Matt Ross, and his wife Nora, played by Lily Rabe. Dr. Montgomery, a surgeon to all of Hollywood's finest in the 1920s, built the Victorian home for his wife. He never fails to remind her, and it always fails to impress her.
I built you this house. Exactly the way you wanted it.
And how many servants do we have? 2?
When they fell on hard times, Nora decided that Charles should start offering abortions out of the basement.
No one will ever know. But we do require payment up front.
After an abortion went very wrong, Charles was exposed and the father of the baby dismembered the Montgomerys' newborn in retaliation.
Charles? Oh my God.
Crazed with grief, Charles sewed the baby back together and reanimated it. The child was bloodthirsty, and Nora ended up killing all 3 of them. Their ghosts continued to haunt the house, along with anyone else who died there. Were these terrible events enough to shatter a psychic veil and create the house where the eventual Antichrist would be conceived and born? Or was there something more? This vital question to the entire AHS arc has never been answered. If people kept going missing after booking a stay at a particular hotel, you'd think the place would be positively crawling with law enforcement, but no, not at the Hotel Cortez.
I need a room, one night.
150.
It says here 30.
That's out of date.
Like Murder House, the hotel racks up an enormous body count due to the evil energy of the place. Yet people keep booking stays at the Cortez, and when they die terribly and violently within its walls, nobody seems to come looking for them there. Does this have something to do with an enchantment on the site laid by the vampire countess played by Lady Gaga? She's been in the fashion industry for decades, yet nobody seems bothered that she doesn't age. Did she cast a glamour over herself as well as the hotel? Is this somehow related to Gaga's role as the original Supreme Scathach in Roanoke? Something definitely seems to be up. After all, the Roby-Show witches even know Queenie is there, and yet nobody goes looking for her. That may be due to some sort of black magic. And consider this, when Will Drake is killed at the hotel, his son Lachlan is also staying at the hotel. But we never see Lachlan again. Did the Countess turn him into one of the ravaging vampire children? Is he still there, and is he still alive? We just don't know. We will probably never know, will we? American Horror Story Asylum is packed to the brim with bizarre occurrences. We meet a supposed Anne Frank who lived. We get acquainted with the serial killer Bloodyface. We witness the evil doing of a Nazi doctor who continues his vile medical experiments on patients. But one of the plot threads that still leaves us scratching our heads involves Kit Walker, played by Evan Peters, and his abduction by aliens. After his supposed abduction and return, his wife also disappears. Authorities arrest Kit under suspicion of being a serial rapist and murderer Bloodyface. Kit is locked away in Briarcliff Asylum, and nobody believes his alien abduction story.
Your story about little green men? No, that won't do here.
They weren't human.
He suffers terribly for crimes he didn't commit. We never get a definitive answer about the aliens in American Horror Story, but Ryan Murphy discussed the puzzling plotline with Entertainment Weekly, explaining that, for me, aliens were always an obvious metaphor for God. It fits very easily into the world of a Catholic sanitarium asylum. It was also about science versus faith, so it made sense to me. Still, would like to know what these malignant extraterrestrials are up to. Then again, aliens are notorious for their wild ways. American Horror Story Roanoke features Uber driver Rhett Snow, played by actor Billy Snow, and he seems to be the only working driver in the area. He gives Cricket a ride, almost killing Flora by accident in the process.
Yeah, I just pray to God everyone was alright.
He also gives Dylan a ride back to Mott Manor, evidently totally fine with the fact that the guy is wearing a pigman mask. Rhett shares the same last name as the fashionista witch Myrtle Snow, and his first name is shared by Rhett Butler in Gone with the Wind, one of Clark Gable's most famous roles. Could Rhett Snow be a member of Myrtle's extended family? Giving him an old-fashioned name would be such a Myrtle thing to do. Our other members, the Snow family, similarly driven by glamour and glitz, and were they eager to name Rhett after a pop culture figure from days of yore? If so, is Rhett possibly a warlock like his witch relative? Will he feature in a future season? We probably wouldn't have seen him so many times without a reason. But what is that reason? In a horrifying reveal during American Horror Story Murder House, we discover that the latex-clad rubber man is in fact the ghost of Tate Langdon, and he's the one who forced himself upon Vivian, impregnating her with Satan. So who is the second rubber man in Apocalypse? It doesn't seem to be Michael, because he's walking the halls and interviewing people in Outpost 3 around the time Rubber Man is doing his sexy business. Then again, Rubber Man clearly gets around. Gallant and the second Rubber Man have sex, and later on, Gallant is startled when Michael claims it wasn't him in the rubber suit.
You're pathetic.
When Gallant sees the Rubber Man again, he stabs him in a fit of rage. But beneath the mask, it's not a man at all. No, it's Gallant's grandmother, Bubbles, played by the legendary Joan Collins. It's a pretty eventful night, all told. Was the second Rubber Man even real? Or was he merely a hallucination? It's ironic that Evan Peters played the original Rubber Man in Murder House, only to be on the receiving end of his assault in Apocalypse. Time really is a flat circle, huh? American Horror Story Apocalypse spends a great deal of time and attention on Emily and Timothy, the star-crossed lovers in the end of times living in Outpost 3. When they're captured and taken underground, they're both told that they were selected for their excellent genes.
The elite. The worthy. Those chosen to survive.
Their forbidden love only draws them closer together. By the end of Apocalypse and after the time reset, we learn Emily has given birth to the next Antichrist. Why were they included in the Apocalypse bunker? Did someone know Emily and Timothy were destined to sire an Antichrist in the event of a time spell being cast to destroy young Michael Langdon? Was Outpost 3 hoping for another devil child to rule the end of the world? Or does this mean that the forces that are trying to foster the Antichrist are well aware of multiple timelines? Also, Emily and Timothy are both human, and Satan must be conceived with human and spirits like Michael was. So is one of them not who they say they are? Could one of them have been under an identity spell all along? So many questions. American Horror Story Hotel ended with a number of pressing questions that were never resolved. For example, what happened to the Countess's disfigured vampire baby Bartholomew after she was killed on the property and became one of its ghosts? What was the significance of the recurring 225 hour? Oh, and we have some questions about that gang of real-life serial killers. Each year on Halloween, they somehow managed to visit James March, the man who built the Hotel Cortez. As you no doubt recall, Richard Ramirez, Eileen Wuornos, John Wayne Gacy, Jeffrey Dahmer, and a mass Zodiac killer all attend a dinner party in celebration of Devil's Night.
I don't get you, man. The real fun starts after you get caught, don't you know that?
Each year they drink absinthe and murder together with glee, but none of these serial killers happen to die in the Hotel Cortez, obviously. So how do they get there? And where are they all chillaxing the rest of the year? In the world of American Horror Story, ghosts tend to stay where they were killed, but not these prolific murderers. What allows these serial killers to go and join James March at the Cortez for one night a year? Does he have some witchy powers that are never discussed? Or is there something else behind their ability to roam about freely? Can other ghosts do this? Fingers crossed for a future season that clears up these unanswered questions from American Horror Story's 5th season. Theories, anyone? In American Horror Story Coven, Evan Peter plays Kyle Spencer, the president of a college fraternity. When Madison and Zoe go to a raging party, Madison is drugged and sexually assaulted by a bunch of frat guys, until Kyle intervenes. Madison is so furious about the attack, she uses her powers to flip over the frat boys' bus, killing a great many of them, and also killing poor sweet Kyle. Feeling guilty about Kyle's death, Madison and Zoe visit the morgue and decide to resurrect him. But there's a problem. The boys were all left in pieces. Madison finds Kyle's head and then picks choice body parts from the various dead frat boys, in order to create what we'll respectively call Franken-Kyle. The spell doesn't seem to work at first, but when it does, Kyle clearly isn't the same kind-hearted guy he was before. He eventually regains his strength and ability to speak, and by the end of the season, he becomes a Miss Roby Show's Academy's butler and protector, as Spaulding had been. We return to Roby Show in American Horror Story Apocalypse, but there's no sign of Kyle at all. Evan Peters is all over Apocalypse. In fact, he plays 4 different roles throughout the season: Mr. Gallant, James Patrick March, Tate Langdon, and Jeff Pfister. So it's really rather odd that Franken-Kyle doesn't make a single appearance throughout the season. What happened to him? Did he die again? Or could Ryan Murphy be saving him for a future season? Time will tell. What was the witch Mallory's real identity, and why was she so powerful? We know that Queenie's lineage goes all the way back to the Salem witch trials. Misty Dawn comes from a long line of swamp witches. Supreme Fiona and her daughter Cordelia are both white witch royalty, as are Madison, Montgomery, and Zoe. But we know virtually nothing about Mallory, or her past when we meet her as a personal assistant in American Horror Story Apocalypse.
Are the Kardashians filming out there?
She was functioning under an identity cloaking spell, so it makes sense that she didn't know who or what she was, yet it seems nobody else knew either. Apocalypse never really addresses her identity or lineage at all, which is surprising. People with her level of immense power tend to rise from well-known bloodlines. This begs the question, is Mallory even a witch at all? We need Ryan Murphy to circle back around to this one. We learn in American Horror Story Coven that there can only be one Supreme at a time, and when her powers and health begin to weaken, it means another Supreme is on the rise. Fiona had to die in order for her daughter Cordelia to ascend, just as Cordelia has to die for Mallory to take her powers. But in American Horror Story Roanoke, many of the terrible events are set in motion by the Wood Witch Scathach, who they say is the original Supreme. But how can that be if there's only one at a time? Is she a Ghost Supreme? Does being the first give her exceptional powers? We demand answers! Check out one of our newest videos right here, plus even more Looper videos about American Horror Story are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.